Welcome, everybody. If it's Tuesday night and 6 o'clock, it must be time for All Things Brunswick. This is Bill Moore, one of your co-hosts. Welcome you to another great show, part two of last week. Let's introduce my co-hosts.
Hi, everybody. It's Mary Stillwell.
And Dan Roman. Good to be back.
Always good to have you here, sir. Mary, why don't you take us where we were and where we're going?
Thank you, Bill. We are doing the second segment this evening to our programs on human trafficking. Tonight, from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, we have Sergeant Philip Horne.
Happy to be here.
And Detective Laura Sellers.
Thank you for having me.
And we appreciate you both coming very much. We want to do a little bit of information on human trafficking. As we all know, January was the awareness month for human trafficking, and we did not want the year to go by without talking a little bit about it. I'd like to start with Sergeant Horne. If you could tell us how you came to be in Brunswick County and where you worked previously, and did you do the same thing?
Okay, so I started law enforcement in 2003 with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, and I did various different areas throughout the Sheriff's Office. I came to Brunswick County in 2017, and which currently I am now with the Selective Special Victims Unit section, and we work under investigations. I do have experience from Cumberland County working with task force and a SWAT team where we would put together sting operations to intercept human trafficking rings and things of that nature.
Great. Tell us now where you were close to and why that was an issue there.
So in Cumberland County, it covers Fayetteville is the largest city in Cumberland County, and it's a pretty big city, and the crime rate's fairly high. And what makes up Fayetteville, they have a lot of motels and hotels in that area, in which the dealers would solicit girls, provide them with drugs, narcotics, and solicit them out for prostitution so that they could make money. And they would do that in the hotel systems, and it was just repetitive, and it was blanketing the city with that criminal element.
I bet that this is actually a team effort. So you not only work with special victims, but you also have narcotics, and everybody is on board. Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely. And matter of fact, in Cumberland County, they have their own human trafficking unit where there's 3 of them that do the investigations for the county and they work very closely with Fayetteville City Police. And they typically, from time to time, they'll put on these operations in which they try to intercept these traffickers.
Wow. Detective Sellers, what is your role here in Brunswick County?
Well, it's not quite that impressive, but I'm the school resource officer detective. So I'm assigned to all of the schools in the county that the sheriff's office has SROs in. So my role is to respond to any felony charges that are reported at the school, and then to investigate any threats of mass violence towards the school as well.
So are you aware in your position, I know that in other states, human trafficking is also it's a problem in some of the high schools.
Yes, ma'am.
So your unit or yourself, you are aware of what to look for in that instance, right?
We are, and we also try to educate our parents what to look for, because I think a lot of people think that human trafficking is a child getting snatched off the street or something that's an instantaneous process, and they don't realize how many runaway juveniles you have or delinquent juveniles that are groomed or picked up at a very young age and kind of brought into this lifestyle where you see them as they become young adults, and people think, oh, well, that's just another person on the street, and they don't see that's also a victim. So things kind of start in that middle school to high school area and can work its way up. So that's something we try to educate our parents to be more involved and to to really get to know who has access to their children so that it doesn't become an issue within our schools.
Do you have programs for kids and parents in this county?
To my knowledge, we don't, but that would be more of a question for DJJ. I would be happy to find out for you though.
I would like
I
to
don't know
know.
what exactly they have in place. I know we have, I believe New Hanover County has some pretty good programs because I think that they've seen obviously a little more because of the city and their location than we have. But if not, it's definitely something we need to look into. I agree with that.
Yeah. Any questions, Bill? He is thinking.
No, I'm just listening in and taking it all in. So one of the things we talked about last week is that trying to bring awareness, right? So what are you seeing as far as the differences between awareness, say 10 years ago versus now? And what do you think it'll be like 10 years from now? How do we raise that level of awareness?
For me, I think shows like this help bring awareness to the community because, in my opinion, 10 years ago, it was hardly ever heard of or talked about. Trafficking, it's become more knowledgeable now as we're starting to see. First, like the first time I heard about it, it was more of like he's type situation, and then you see it starts to spill over to us and to understanding that the difference of avenues, like Laura was saying, that it's not just somebody coming across your borders and snatching kids, loading them in the back of vans and taking them to another location. It could be something just like what I was seeing in Cumberland County, where they would just control the females or whoever by giving them narcotics to keep them at a level where they want more narcotics. And so they did whatever that person would tell them to do. I think the awareness has been brought to life, and there is more awareness. There's always room for more. But just social media, getting it out, just doing what y'all are doing here today. It's just informing citizens in the community.
Social media is a two-edged sword, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
is that where you're finding most of the grooming is coming through? Is social media, or is it coming somewhere else?
100%. So with special victims, a lot of our cases, especially dealing with juveniles, is grooming through social media via Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
TikTok.
Well, that's what, I say all the time. I wouldn't have a job if we didn't have social media.
right.
You know, our kids between TikTok, Snapchat. Apparently, I'm getting old because Facebook isn't really a thing anymore.
That's for grandparents now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
it's an old man's
one of the
thing.
kids was telling me about some real situation. I think it was through TikTok, and I was like, oh, well, we used to have like YouTube videos that got shared and everybody talked about them, and that was kind of the the initial start of it. So yeah, I think that you're right. I think that we're seeing a lot of the uptick with human trafficking is through social media because it's so much easier to groom and to grab kids
Right.
without having to physically grab someone off the street. You essentially have someone coming to you without you having to physically go yourself. So
Yeah, I'm pretty active on TikTok. I've got a couple channels on there. One of the things I've noticed, there are a lot, and I do mean a lot, of young girls on there.
absolutely.
And it concerns me. I mean, and I don't know, are you, that might be more of a federal level question, but do you interact with these social media people yourselves? Do you give it to, I guess, the FBI? Who does that?
So it just depends. So when we get cases in Brunswick County and say inappropriate conversations or things of that nature are occurring through Snapchat or Instagram, we will one, seize the phone that it was used. As far as our victim, if it's one of our students or a kid, we'll take the phone and we'll try to get consent for the search of the phone to look and see what they have talked about or what has been exchanged as far as pictures and stuff of that nature. And if we do not get consent, but we have probable cause, we'll type a search warrant out. And then once a judge approves our search warrant, we forward all that stuff to the company's main base, and they will send us the information that we're trying to see.
So they will extract it.
Well, they'll send it because so these social media sites, they are required to hold the data for X number of days or months. And when rather than a kid maybe deleting something from their phone, we'll do a search warrant to preserve the data that they've used and the communications that they've had, so that the company itself, Snapchat, Instagram, will send us the data from those dumps. And
Do you find that they're willingly cooperating? I mean, you hear both sides of it, right? They're more than willing to cooperate. I've also heard the opposite, where Apple's a common one. They talk about won't share anything. What do you guys find with the different social media companies?
Apple stepped up their security game.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will give you a little bit of hard time,
Okay.
but typically they don't want. For one thing that we work with now is the child porn stuff, and Apple does not want that in their cloud. So we have an investigator detective that works ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children, and somebody up there in the cloud is constantly looking, and when somebody uploads images that they're not supposed to, it gets flagged and it gets sent to our State Bureau of Investigations, in which we get tips all the time for somebody either sharing, trading, or selling child pornographic material. And that's when we pick up those cases as well. But I wanted to go back for a second. This Special Victims Unit is kind of near and dear to my heart in the social media stuff, because I have two teenagers. One of them being a girl, she's a junior in high school. But awareness, as far as parents need to know what their kids are doing. All the grooming, from what we've seen, is starting on these sites like Snapchat, and the kids are welcoming friends they don't know, never met in their life, and then they'll start a conversation. And a lot of times these people are pretending to be somebody that they're not, somebody their age, and they'll just sit there and they'll talk to them, get comfortable, and just keep going back and forth with them.
Well, and they share their location.
Yeah.
So you look at it and they start talking to this, kid, whether they're middle school, high school, and all of a sudden they know where they're at. They know how to find them, down to
The house.
I mean, down to essentially showing you this is the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that you have a lot of parents that either don't know that they have access to these things in their phone, or don't know how to locate them, or they just feel like they're not supposed to invade their kids' privacy. And I don't have kids, so I can't speak to that, but I know that that's something that I'm actually going this evening to do a presentation on social media and the dangers of that. And so it's something that I tell parents. I'm like, I implore you, at the end of the day, you pay the bill. It's your property. They're your kid. They're your responsibility. So as direct as it might sound, you have to choose to be the parent. You have to choose to be the person that's going to be responsible for their safety, because regardless, at the end of the day, we have no evidence to prove that they're mature enough to make those decisions on their own. So if we're going to give them access, to give everyone else access to their body, to their location, to all of their private information, then we need to have someone who's responsible oversee that. So, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
No,
sorry,
you're fine.
that was kind of my little caveat I like to throw in there when we talk about that.
But to answer your question, the digital devices and social media are the gateway.
Yeah.
To all kinds of stuff.
It's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we talked prior to the show about everything being so different now. Parents don't check into their children's activities like they used to.
Right.
And I think that that has a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
They're looked upon it as the parent is getting into their business. I heard a young lady say the other day.
Well, yes, ma'am. But we also, I think, too, have parents that really do want to be involved and want to be in there, but they just don't know what to look for.
That was the point.
So
I was
it's a matter of, and I don't want to say lack of education because it sounds, it doesn't sound good, but it's a lack of knowledge. It is, and it's not necessarily at anyone's fault other than just technology explodes, and 1 minute it's something different than it was 5 minutes ago. So when you sit down and you say, oh, well, have you checked their My Eyes Only? Have you checked these hidden accounts? Do you know these codes? Everybody just looks at you and they're like, wait, what?
Right.
So every time we give one of these presentations or we talk to a group of parents, afterwards you have to kind of set aside another hour or two because they're all going to come up with their phones and say, hey, what are you talking about? Show me that. So we do have, I believe, a lot of parents that are trying too hard to be friends, but we also have a lot of parents that aren't, that want to be very involved and want to be, want to oversee that. They just don't know how, and they don't. And so, I mean, maybe that is something that we need to discuss too, as some sort of program to kind of make that information more readily available to those of us folks that are a little behind the ball on technology.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ex-IT, so I can relate to what you're saying, and I've taught classes and stuff like that. It's the kids these days know a million times more than the parents do. And as a parent, now back in the day, mind you, social media didn't exist. The AOL chat room.
Nor did smartphones.
Yeah, my kids were AOL chat rooms. That's how far back it was.
Right.
But I monitored all that. Now, keep in mind, I'm IT. I knew what to look for, how to do it, and all that. And I think that one of the best things that maybe we could talk moving forward on is an educational program for parents. One of the things I always told people is it doesn't matter what app they're using. It's got to pass through your router, and you can see the router and see where they're going
Right.
if you know what you're looking for. And it's not that hard, but you got to know how to do it.
This sounds like a wonderful project for you because I already have no clue what you're talking about.
Well, it's funny
So-
because,
We appreciate you
like-
volunteering.
like I said back in the day when I was in IT, like in a business, I always tell people, you may think you're going on Yahoo and I can't see it. Everything you type, I can see in the IT world. Now, do we want to get to that level with the kids? But I think one of the reasons that my kids didn't have to go through anything is because my ex-wife and I were very vigilant about it.
Right.
And, they, again, different scenario now, social media, there's dozens of apps.
Right.
There's WhatsApp that we haven't even talked about that one. That's out there. All the different chat bots and all that stuff. But the best solution for a parent, I think, is to get educated. You're not going to know everything. I don't know everything. No one can.
And
But
be nosy.
yeah,
And
and
until you know.
what are you doing on your phone? What are you
Right.
looking at?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And until you know, take that. Take the phone.
I agree.
There's no reason for someone to have a phone at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning when they're at home with their parents. What?
Now,
Nothing
the
good.
the blue campaign that has come forth from the federal government is supposed to specialize in children, in helping children. Okay, not necessarily the younger ones, but high school, college, youth groups, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if they don't have some programs helping parents to keep up on what social media is doing. But I know that it is a new thing, and I'm sure that they're not completely situated yet. But I think it's an awesome thing that they have done because they are actually targeting youth groups and colleges finally, because I'm sure that the human traffickers pinpoint these places to pick up, for their
Absolutely.
You
And
know.
social media makes it so much more easier for human traffickers
Right.
to track
right. Yeah.
individuals down.
Well, I have a question about, now we have a lot of young ladies and young men who date online. Okay. And we all know about scammers.
Mhm.
Okay. I was reading an article on a particular young woman, 24 years old, who was totally in love with somebody online. Okay. Only to find out that it wasn't who he said he was. So he indeed was a scammer. But what it came down to was the fact that he tried to get to her. So I'm assuming that because of that, he may have been a trafficker. And maybe this is one of the ways that he goes about, you know, picking up young women.
Mhm.
Well, and even if not a trafficker, at the very least, a predator of some sort.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And there's several documentaries out right now on that very
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
The guys, there was a guy overseas that was soliciting women that they thought they were in a relationship with and soliciting
Mhm.
money from them, and they would
Oh.
send him thousands and
Oh,
thousands,
yeah.
taking loans out in their name to send to him because he was in trouble or in distraught or stuck in a different
Mhm.
country and he needed help, and received millions of dollars from different women
You know,
through the internet.
this is a real problem, and North Carolina is right up at the top. So, you know, and it concerns me not only for that, but there are a lot of young women that are doing this. They are dating online, and they're sending money and this and that. So, I think it's not just a financial issue. It is indeed that they need to run for their lives.
Mhm.
And I wish there was a good answer for that. I really do. Unfortunately, I think the way that we're just kind of seeing society turn, I don't know how you tell someone don't online date other than to tell someone to
You got to know who
be
you're
smart.
talking to.
Yeah, be
One
smart.
thing we need to do is
qualify
stop
it.
trying to limit the rights of parents.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
You know, and that's a major issue nationally.
Mhm.
You know, we have, you know, I am amazed because my son has a couple kids in college, and he can't find out their grades. He's paying the bill, but
Right.
he's not allowed to find out what the grades are unless his son or daughter shares to share that with him. My answer was, the next check going out doesn't happen. You show me what's going on, or the check ain't happening. But you know, this is just an example of all around. You know, we're talking about letting kids make decisions on sexual activity. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about literally whether a guy, a gal, or somewhere in between, and then keeping the parents out of it. You know, transgendering, keeping being out of it. And parents need to get involved, and they need to have the government, and I don't mean us, but in general, stop taking away their rights. They need to stand up and take them back. You know, my point, I think the one mistake that came from COVID that was unexpected is when we locked down and parents got to see what was going on in schools because the kids were now home and it was on a screen.
That's a
Right.
whole other
That
show,
was an
Bill.
unintended consequence for
That
them.
was a nightmare.
Yeah. And people suddenly saying, hey, there's something wrong here. And for your information, I'm a retired high school principal. So
Okay.
that's where I can
God
jump in.
bless you.
And I've been
You
in
have all my respect.
New York and North
And
Carolina.
congratulations.
So,
Congratulations.
and I would go back tomorrow. Loved it.
That is wonderful.
But real question, just to clarify for our listeners, when we're talking about kids involved, is it primarily in Brunswick girls, boys? Is it mixed between the two? Second question is, are they grabbing the kids? Is it prostitution? Is it forced labor? And in fact, you know, and working on farms? What's the Brunswick piece of this?
So, in my experience, Brunswick County has a very low report rate as far as human trafficking is concerned. I know it's very high over in New Hanover and Wilmington.
We're trying to
area.
cut that bridge. We're working on it.
Right.
Then I couldn't be here.
But
Two reasons to cut the bridge.
I could swim, I guess.
so in the experience that I have with the human trafficking element, in my experience, I can attribute that to the motels versus the hotels, and there's just not, and they're more predominant right in the middle, in the heart of the city, whether it be Fayetteville or Wilmington. So we're not seeing a whole lot of reports of human trafficking here.
But at least in our immediate counties, we're talking more about women than guys, I guess, at this point,
Well,
or young girls, whatever you want to call it.
so I think the issue with that is, like my sergeant said, it's about reporting. So I dealt a lot with victims prior to getting into law enforcement. So human trafficking is actually something that's really, really close to my heart. So I think that across the board, it's kind of an even field, but you have to look at it not so much as just human sex trafficking. So we have a lot of human, like work trafficking, and you've got migrant farmers, you've got people that are moved across the states, and we have a lot of farm territory. So we might not know about it
Right.
on, I guess, officially, But that's not to say that it doesn't exist. And that's where you talking about bringing awareness to the table is so important, because people, when they hear human trafficking, they immediately think someone who's locked in a hotel room, or they don't look at the children who are working, and we don't know that they're even out there.
Right.
You know, you talk about COVID shutting down and kids that were no longer in school. So what were they doing? Or kids that were never enrolled in school. So where did they go? So I think that there might be a population, and I might be over speaking here, but I think that there might be a population that we don't even know about and that we can't reach because that information isn't out there yet, and that community isn't being grabbed. And so, if they do start at a young age, then where do they end up? Do they start off as in a work trade and then maybe end up in a sex trade? We don't know. So that's something that we need to look at, and that we as a community, we as law enforcement, leaders of our community need to potentially look into it and see what we can do there. So
We're going to
I
take
don't
it.
know that that's an answer.
Good. But it's
Sorry
a good
about that.
answer right now.
No, it's all
It's
good.
time for us to take a break to pay a few bills, and then we'll come back with part 2 of this excellent discussion. So hang on, people. We got to pay some bills.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
It seems like every other store is now selling CBD in some form or another. But did you know that Wilmington has just one local CBD company? I'm talking about Carolina Pure. Family owned and operated, they are Wilmington's first and only CBD company that makes quality hemp products right here in town, including tinctures, topicals, and pet products. Their hemp is sourced from local farmers and they support area musicians and nonprofits. Check us out at carolinapureshop.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's part 2 of All Things Brunswick. It's still Tuesday night. It's a little bit later than when we started. But we're having a great conversation, an informative conversation with you about human trafficking that affects Brunswick and our country, and hopefully making you aware of the things that are involved and what you need to do. I'm going to hit you both with a real question that we asked last week, and we'll see if we get the same answer. I'm testing you now because you haven't
Uh-oh.
seen the movie.
Now I'm nervous.
Okay. What if I'm a average everyday parent? I'm probably above average, but just an average everyday parent. What do I look for, and what should I do about it? I mean, you all say you see something suspicious, report it. What is considered suspicious, and what happens if it doesn't work and I send you something that turns out to be harmless?
So I think the first thing you've got to do is you've got to know your child. So I can tell you all day long, this is what you need to look for, but that could be different for anyone. You know, if you have a very outspoken child that's all over the place, then all of a sudden they get quiet, or all of a sudden they're on their phone and they're wanting to hang out with somebody that you don't know. There's so many things. We talked earlier about going through their phone. So just giving yourself access to their life.
I'm taking it a little bit bigger than that.
Okay.
Suppose down the street from me is a house I'm not sure about. Okay. How do I deal with that? Should I deal with it? I really don't know, but things are just clicking that it doesn't smell right, if you want a better term. Should I report it? Should I not report it? What should I think about? I don't know. But I know people, it's very easy to say, if you see something suspicious, report it. But suspicious between the 3 or the 5 of us can be different for each one of us.
Right. So I would say if we're talking about a residence that could be potentially down the street from you, traffic that goes in and out of that residence, do you see different people coming and going? Do they interact with the neighbors, or do they keep to themselves? Do they keep
That's a good point.
do they keep the windows shut down? You never see them.
Conceal their vehicles.
Concealment of vehicles, or park them in a manner that you can't really get any information on them whatsoever. There's just and there's nothing wrong with seeing something like that and calling 911 and say, hey, there's one down the street. Could you send a deputy out just to check it out? We call them welfare checks or special area checks. And then the deputy will.
And you guys are not going to get upset if it turns out to be harmless. That's
I
going
know,
to be
we
the
would-
back of someone's
We
mind.
would much rather investigate 100. I mean, I know myself, I'd much rather investigate 100 false reports than miss one good one.
Now you've given the
So-
exact answer we had last week, which is what I was attempting. So you passed.
Yeah.
Well, good. Look, I passed. Look.
I
Wow.
wouldn't say false reports, but we would rather have 100 concerns and it check out to be okay. And everything.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
a,
that's a
that's
good
a
way to
much
put
better.
it.
I guess
Yeah,
I shouldn't
that's
say
a better way to
false.
put it,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
false
So
is
how
not, but-
far can you go when you're doing a welfare check? What can you do when you go to that home, and what can you not do?
So for law enforcement, we have the restrictions of reasonable suspicion and probable cause. So depending on the who goes out and it's just all depends on what they see and what they observe, and if they're able to articulate what they saw, and if they think that there's a criminal element afoot, then they would typically run that up to their chain of command or their supervisor and say, hey, I got like the hair standing up on the back of my neck here, and I'm not sure what to do. And then if that supervisor doesn't, they might give us a call.
John Hughes sister here doesn't want her name brought into this thing. She wants to report it. Is that okay?
we get not so we on our website we have an area where you can make complaints, or you want to report something but you want to remain anonymous. We get those quite often.
Well, so it's
You tried to
kinda
get me
like-
arrested last week.
It's kind of like go with your gut, right?
Right.
Okay, if you feel that there is definitely something going on, and you go to your superior.
Yes. And then we can start a preliminary investigation and see what we can dig up. We have means to look parcels up and vehicles, and we will start a paper trail investigation and see what we can figure out about the individual factor, and it's something, or it might be if a tip comes in, we're gonna knock on the door and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Who are you?" And if they tell us to leave, then if we don't have anything at the moment, we leave. But we keep digging, and we keep researching anything we can find out.
So you're allowed to go to the door, knock on the door,
Sure.
and tell them that you have received a complaint.
Well, we don't typically just tell them that we've received a complaint on them, but we'll say we're in the neighborhood and there's some raise for concern, and just try to get information from them.
Okay.
And then while you're getting the information, you're trying to observe, take in everything that you're seeing and being told.
Yeah, you might say something like, "I'm just here to check, make sure everything's okay."
Right.
Are you okay?
Or just,
Right.
or just, hey, how you doing? It's a
Yeah.
beautiful day.
Hey, I wanna
I was
introduce
out for a
myself,
walk,
right?
and I like your doorknob there. That's pretty cool. So,
Checking around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Not to change the subject, but I want to kind of go back to something on the kids. So one of the things I was always wondering, and with the understanding that there is no set age or safe age, but is there a particular age group, maybe 13 to 15, whatever, that you find more grooming occurs in? Because as a parent, that's something that I would wonder about, right? I mean, if I have an 8-year-old and I have a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old, they're obviously going to concern about all of them, but is there one more vulnerable?
So I think it comes down to the preference of the perpetrator or the
Okay.
or the suspect, because we've seen grooming at every age level,
Mhm.
even adults. But I don't think there's a more prevalent age of grooming. It's like I said,
Depends on who's
depends on the-
doing it. Yeah.
And as far as the parent's concerned, it's as soon as your child has access to social media, you've opened them up to whomever is looking for that particular age group.
Well,
or
that's why I was
gender or-
bringing it up,
yeah.
because I kind of knew you were going to give me that answer. But one of the things that I have a concern about, that I think parents need to think about, is giving their kid a phone at, say, 7, 8, 10 years. They don't
Mhm.
need a phone.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You don't. I grew up without one. Bill grew up without electricity. So,
And we're
you know,
here.
it's a whole other ballgame. But
And we're all here.
Well,
So,
Yes.
and that's why I say it's whatever age you give it to them, that's what age you need to.
That's when the risk
expect them to
really-
be in a risk.
right. I
in
mean,
a
there
risk
is a
group.
risk without a phone,
Oh,
but
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
There's no
much
fast
higher.
rule, when you talk about the age group for the kids. What I would tell you as a high school principal and a middle school principal too. I used to call middle school and ninth graders adult bodies with childlike minds. And there's probably your biggest danger,
That-
because they think they know everything. By the time they're hitting a 10th, 11th grade, maybe senior year, there are exceptions, but for the most part, they're getting some smarts to them and they're dealing with. But that group, 7th, 8th grade, 9th, and 10th, perfect target because they know everything.
Yeah.
They've got a little better discernment there for
yeah.
seeing what's in front of them.
and another thing
Older.
too, as far as smartphones go, and if you choose to give your child 7, 8, 9, 10, you can give it to them, but you also have the ability as a parent to lock that phone down, and you can control it. There's Apple, you can go right through their settings, and you can control their app, when they can use their phone, when they can't, what apps they can download and what they can't. You can even do away with the download store, where they can't even download any apps.
It's not like what my daughter told our 9th grader, an 8th grader. You're not getting a phone yet. Well, my friends will have a phone. Move in with them. Will you live here? For 8?
I
These are
like
the rules.
I like that one.
She gets that from her mother. She's rather straight and forward like that.
Right.
That she didn't get it from you, that's for sure.
No, I feel like the most of the issues are with middle school, because I think Bill's right. As they get into sophomore, junior, they're starting. Guys, don't take this personally, but they're starting to get some sense about themselves.
They're looking
And-
for freedom. So
Yeah. And I also think that middle school, from 10 years old to, they're very extremely gullible.
Yes,
And-
yes.
Ow.
And they
Completely
think they're
agree there.
bulletproof. They do. They are, they can do whatever they want to do, and nothing will happen to them.
Mhm.
I mean, you just have to ask them, they'll tell you. I know that we do not in this country have a lot of, we do not have a lot of Department of Homeland Security offices. This is something that's kind of fairly new, I think. And it may have kind of burst open, so to speak, after 9/11. But and I, with that thought in mind, I don't think that they were actually thinking human trafficking. They were thinking terrorists.
Mhm.
But that's
Okay.
where I think we're seeing that trend where they're kind of making
Right.
that shift there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what I was going to ask you. How do you feel about that, and how do you think that that should be addressed? I mean, there's a lot of um um talk of terrorists and things not to do and to do and et cetera, et cetera. But along with that, I think these people could be trained also on human trafficking. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I will speak on our experience. We have a Homeland Security office right there in Wilmington, and we utilize them a lot.
Do you?
Yes, we do because two of the focuses I know for the Wilmington office is narcotics, and they also work with the children, the child pornography
Okay.
stuff. So, and
Yes.
they
Mhm.
have experts in there that analyze data all the time, and so I think they have shifted in a way, especially Homeland Security, because we work very closely with several of those agents across the river. So
So that is like a nationwide thing as well. This pornography, right? The child pornography and
yes,
whatnot. Okay. So that human trafficking and maybe some terrorism kind of go hand in hand.
So I believe so, and we were talking about this when we came in today. Myself and a couple of our other deputies last year went to a special training to do human trafficking interdiction through traffic stops, things like that. And that's something that the Texas Highway Patrol started.
That's
And
great.
North Carolina jumped on board and said, I can only speak to what I've heard as far as the FBI, but they jumped on board and said, hey, come in, train us so that we can train our people as well. So I think that if the question is our ability to expand our fusion centers, it's going to be by expanding the knowledge of your
Right.
officers, your boots on the ground, so that we can show a need for that.
Right.
So
Is
it'll
there
be a trickle effect, I believe.
right now with special victims, is there specific training on human trafficking or anything for that matter, or do you it just kind of gets
well,
lumped
I think
together?
what we try to pick and we have multiple. So we have interview and interrogation, um, crime scene. So we have lots of different avenues throughout investigations
Mhm.
in which we try to send our detectives for training.
Good.
That being speaking of
Right.
being one of them. So when opportunities arise, we like to Salemburg is our Justice Academy.
Hmm.
We like to send a lot of our folks there because it's closer. But so whenever those kinds of trainings comes about, yes, we absolutely.
I picked this up where they had a training session right in Southport. I was amazed. Human
Oh
trafficking
wow.
workshop, and that was last October, October 2022.
Oh wow.
I, I think this is amazing, and I'm thinking it was initiated by that church.
So is it directed at the community? What was the format there? I'm
I
just curious. I don't remember seeing that.
Yep. No, it doesn't.
Well, that explains why
It's actually
I didn't know.
it.
Okay, that's wonderful
Yeah,
then. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good. It's good to see the community taking
But
that stance.
John David was there. He did
Okay.
speak. And so, they did have. I don't know if sure if Ingram was there or not, but I think this is great, and I think this is something that in a rural area like we live in, because as you said, we're not really aware, and there could be more out there than what we are aware of.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think this is a fantastic idea.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. A lot of people think we're not one of those cities, so it can't happen to us, and that's just not the truth.
Problem is we're a big county. In the north, you've got Wilmington, in the south.
And we're
Right.
sandwiched right in the
Right in
middle.
the middle.
Mhm.
And so more people can go either way on that.
Well, and
I
what we've
Absolutely.
seen is like whether you're talking about narcotics or trafficking and like that, it's there's only one way to get from Myrtle Beach to Wilmington, or even if you wanted to get from Wilmington to 95, you have to come through Brunswick County.
Scary. So, you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking that I think we are going to be on the increase. So, and only because now people are being made aware. It's probably always been there, but we weren't aware.
Right.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, that's very scary to me.
And then
Well, and our
hopefully,
population is growing
yes.
By
astronomically.
leaps and
You know, you've got,
bounds.
and we're a tourist community, so you got people in and out, and I don't think you're far off the mark there by any means.
So, and I'm sure that in your special victims will keep up on that and make sure that, you're right there to see if it's going to increase.
If it's reported,
Absolutely.
if we get reports to us, it's going to be saw through. I mean, we're going to see it through, and we're going to investigate it.
We need to stop it before it gets any bigger. And again, because of our location, we have Myrtle to the south and New Hanover to the north. We are prime for what's going on. Nothing more than trafficking through 95. But as one of your detectives said last week, there's nothing that says that in our rural parts of our county, not a great place to store people, if you will, house them,
Absolutely.
and then load them up to go to Myrtle Beach or load them up to go up and do what they got to do, and then bring them back into a rural part of our county. So
Mhm.
we're not immune.
No, we're not.
We need to get involved. This is a big issue, and it's not going to go away, and it's not going to get better unless we address it. And by addressing it, as it was said, well, probably as Mary said, it's going to get a little bit more notice because people are going to see what's going on. But it's the only way to stop it. Now, I'm going to let you have the last word. How's that? That's scary, isn't it?
Yes, very scary. Thank you for putting me on the spot. Appreciate it. But I agree with everything that you said, and it's like you said, if you see something, don't hesitate. And if you don't feel like calling at 911 to make the report, you can go to our website, Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, and you can fill out an anonymous tip, and we will investigate that as well.
You think that was scary? What do you say to you now? We have a tradition here, which we've been a little spotty. I missed your two people. I missed them last
Wait a
week.
minute. We have a tradition,
Where
or
the bathroom
you have a
is down
tradition?
there.
Is it a tradition that you're singing us out? Because I heard that you have a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
He is the person you take someplace twice, the second time to apologize for the first time. But it works well otherwise. But anyway, what we always ask our guests, and I've been remiss with your detectives last week, but I'm not going to be remiss today. Tell us something about you that nobody knows. And I'm telling you, we've had the lieutenant governor tell us that he likes to go to train stations and watch big trains drive around in train yards. We've had judges come in and do poetry. We had judges that play in bands. So, I mean, we've had everything here. So your turn. Tell us something about you that nobody knows. And that's both of you, not just, you're not getting away either.
Oh, man.
When you say nobody,
Very few people know because nothing's perfect except maybe.
Something
Dan.
somebody would be surprised to find out about.
I'm an avid karaoke fan.
Yeah, now that's great.
Oh, and you want me
We've got a theme going on.
fan or
do.
singer?
You can sing and you
Fan
can
or
mouth it.
singer?
Singer.
So why you want me to sing? He's the one. That
I also play the guitar as well.
Good. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Your turn.
I should have brought mine.
I'm not musically inclined. However, and I don't know if you've noticed, I lean back a lot. I'm a nervous burper. So anytime I'm nervous and I'm talking, I have to take a second, sit back because I can feel myself. And so I've spent the whole time terrified I was going to.
That may
burp
take
in
over the
everyone's
top
ear.
spot
Well
now.
brought up.
I like that one.
Well brought up. We appreciate that.
I like that one.
It's true.
Okay, we're gonna take a break now and pay some bills, then we'll wrap the show up. So thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
It seems like every other store is now selling CBD in some form or another. But did you know that Wilmington has just one local CBD company? I'm talking about Carolina Pure. Family owned and operated, they are Wilmington's first and only CBD company that makes quality hemp products right here in town, including tinctures, topicals, and pet products. Their hemp is sourced from local farmers and they support area musicians and nonprofits. Check us out at carolinapureshop.com.
Was your home damaged by Hurricane Florence or Matthew? Repair, reconstruct, or elevate your home with help from Rebuild NC. Find out if you are eligible for assistance by calling 833-ASK-RBNC. That's 833-275-7262. Or apply now at rebuild.nc.gov/repair.
Well, we're back, folks, and unfortunately, it's time to go. So another Tuesday. I want to thank my co-hosts, Dan and Bill. And we have to thank Greta and TK for keeping us on the air. But many thanks to the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office and to the Special Victims Unit. I cannot tell you, folks, how much I appreciate what you do. You certainly have a great deal of respect from me. Thank you so much for joining us. And come back next week, folks, to All Things Brunswick.
There's no way, Sheriff, I'll tell you that you used the word department. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Did you see my laugh when she said office?
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
It seems like every other store is now selling CBD in some form or another. But did you know that Wilmington has just one local CBD company? I'm talking about Carolina Pure. Family owned and operated, they are Wilmington's first and only CBD company that makes quality hemp products right here in town, including tinctures, topicals, and pet products. Their hemp is sourced from local farmers, and they support area musicians and nonprofits. Check us out at carolinapureshop.com.
Was your home damaged by Hurricane Florence or Matthew? Repair, reconstruct, or elevate your home with help from Rebuild NC. Find out if you are eligible for assistance by calling 833-ASK-RBNC. That's 833-275-7262. Or apply now at rebuild.nc.gov/repair.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.